Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night 3 or 4 times in a row just to go to the bathroom? Have you felt that the strength of your urine stream isn't the same anymore? That sometimes you stand there waiting and it seems like the urine doesn't come out completely? Have you noticed that your body swells more easily? That digestion has become heavier? That your energy disappears out of nowhere for no apparent reason? And then you think this is just age catching up, something inevitable, when in reality, it could be something much more controllable and reversible than you imagine right now. Because there's an uncomfortable truth that almost no one tells you. Some fruits you eat every day, thinking you're taking care of yourself, thinking you're doing the best for your health, might be silently destroying your prostate, inflaming your body from the inside, and worsening exactly the symptoms you most want to eliminate. I'm Dr. Natália Castro, and I'll explain this to you with complete clarity. In this video, you'll discover 4 fruits that should be out of your routine. If you're over 60 and want to keep your prostate healthy, functioning well without pain, without discomfort, and also 4 powerful fruits you should start eating right now to reverse inflammation, improve pelvic circulation, and recover that vitality you feel you've lost in recent years. And no, this isn't exaggeration or fuss. There's solid scientific backing behind every word I'll say here. What happens is this. After 60, the male body changes in a radical and profound way. Testosterone production drops naturally without you noticing. The enzymes that digest food decrease, and you digest worse. The intestinal microbiota becomes imbalanced, leading to gas, fermentation, and inflammation. The tone of the pelvic musculature weakens, directly affecting urinary control. And worst of all, the tendency toward chronic inflammation increases a lot. The body becomes more sensitive to everything. So that fruit you ate calmly at 30 or 40 years old without any problem can become a violent inflammatory trigger at 60. And when there's chronic inflammation circulating in the body, the prostate is one of the first organs to react. It swells, it grows, presses on the urethra, makes urine passage difficult. And that's when the symptoms you know all too well start. Getting up several times at night. The feeling of a full bladder even after urinating. A weak stream that takes time to start. Dripping at the end, discomfort in the pelvic region. And you think this is normal? That every man goes through this? But it's not quite like that because there are fruits that accelerate and worsen this picture. And there are fruits that slow it down, reduce inflammation, and improve it. And you need to know exactly which are which. Because if you keep consuming the wrong ones, you'll continue feeling discomfort, inflammation, and progressive wear and tear. But if you start consuming the right ones, you can notice significant changes in just a few weeks, and I'll show you exactly which ones they are. Now you're probably thinking, but doctor, isn't fruit always healthy? Isn't it always good? And the answer is simple. It depends. It depends on your age. It depends on the current state of your prostate. It depends on how your body is reacting to the foods you consume daily, because some fruits, no matter how natural they are, have components that, in excess or at the wrong time of day, can irritate the urinary tract, rapidly raise blood sugar, increase the body's internal acidity, and worsen systemic inflammation. And all of that, absolutely everything, impacts the prostate directly. That's why I'll start by talking about the 4 fruits you should avoid, or at least drastically reduce in your routine. And pay close attention because you're probably eating at least one of them thinking it's good for your health. The first fruit you need to limit urgently is pineapple. Yes, pineapple. That one everyone thinks is refreshing, light, tropical, and full of vitamin C. But pineapple has 2 serious and proven problems for men over 60. First problem, It contains bromelain in high concentration, a proteolytic enzyme that at certain levels can greatly increase stomach acidity and deeply irritate the mucous membranes of the urinary tract. Studies in gastroenterology show that excess bromelain can increase intestinal permeability, meaning it opens tiny microscopic holes in the intestinal wall. And when the intestine becomes more permeable, it facilitates the passage of inflammatory substances, toxins, and waste into the rest of the body through the bloodstream. And where does all that inflammation end up? Straight to the prostate, because the prostate is an extremely vascularized organ full of small blood vessels. Second serious problem, pineapple is rich in rapidly absorbed fructose, which causes sharp spikes in blood glucose. Glucose spikes stimulate rapid insulin release, and repeatedly high insulin is directly linked to an increase in inflammatory markers in the body. So, if you eat pineapple every day, especially on an empty stomach or worse with your morning coffee, you might be creating a perfect metabolic environment for chronic inflammation without even realizing it. I see this all the time in my clinic. Men with recurrent prostatitis, repeated flare-ups, or benign hyperplasia, who improve significantly just by reducing the consumption of very acidic fruits like pineapple. I'm not saying you can never eat pineapple again, but you need to moderate it a lot and never ever on an empty stomach. The second fruit you should limit is watermelon, and I know this will surprise a lot of people because watermelon has a reputation for being hydrating, light, refreshing, perfect for the heat. But for a 60-year-old man with a sensitive or already enlarged prostate, watermelon can be a serious and immediate problem. Why? Because it has an extremely aggressive diuretic effect. It makes you urinate a lot with urgency and frequency. And if you already have symptoms of an enlarged prostate, this dramatically worsens everything. You'll wake up even more times at night, feel more urgency during the day, have a constant feeling of a full bladder all the time, even after urinating. It's silent torture. Plus, watermelon has a surprisingly high glycemic index for a fruit. It releases fructose too quickly into the blood, causing that quick energy spike followed by a sharp drop afterward. And in the long term, especially in men over 60, this promotes insulin resistance and deep cellular inflammation. For men of this age, whose metabolism already processes sugar much more slowly than before, this becomes a vicious, dangerous cycle. If you really like watermelon and don't want to give it up completely, consume it only in the morning in small amounts and never ever at night, because at night it'll make you get up to urinate several times. You'll lose sleep quality, and poor sleep also worsens systemic inflammation. It's all connected. The third fruit, and this one many men consume religiously every day, thinking they're taking care of themselves, is the orange, especially freshly squeezed orange juice on an empty stomach. Oranges are too acidic for the urinary tract of a man over 60. And in bodies with a sensitive prostate or any tendency toward urinary inflammation, it can severely irritate the bladder and urethral mucosa. This causes burning when urinating, sudden urgency, pelvic discomfort, and even pain during urination in more severe cases. I've treated countless patients who simply stopped drinking orange juice every morning and, in 2 or 3 weeks at most, felt a huge difference in nighttime urinary frequency. They stopped waking up as much. The acidity of oranges stimulates hypersensitive nerve receptors in the urinary tract, and this can generate localized microinflammations that take weeks to disappear completely even after you stop consuming it. If you really want quality vitamin C, there are much better and infinitely less irritating sources, like golden kiwi or red berries. The fourth fruit you should limit urgently is the banana. And here I need to be very specific because Bananas themselves aren't the enemy, but in excess or when very ripe, they become problematic. When a banana is very ripe, those with brown spots on the skin, the simple sugar content skyrockets absurdly, and excess simple sugars repeatedly lead to inevitable chronic inflammation. Plus, bananas have a lot of concentrated potassium. And while potassium is important for various functions, men with mild undiagnosed kidney issues, fluid retention, or uncontrolled high blood pressure need to dose it much better. Recent metabolic studies show that constant insulin spikes caused by simple sugars increase specific inflammatory markers like interleukin 6 and tumor necrosis factor, alpha, and both are directly related to accelerated prostate growth. So if you eat ripe bananas every day, especially more than one, you might be literally feeding the inflammation without realizing it. 1 or 2 bananas a week, preferably less ripe and greener, is sufficient and ideal. Now take a deep breath because I didn't come here just to remove things from your diet and leave you lost. I came to show you exactly what to put in their place. And these next 4 fruits I'm about to present are true powerful allies for men's health. They protect the prostate, improve blood circulation, reduce chronic inflammation, and even significantly help with sexual function. The first powerful fruit you need to start consuming now is blueberry, also known as myrtillo. Blueberries are simply one of the fruits with the highest concentrated antioxidant power in nature. They neutralize free radicals, those unstable molecules that damage healthy cells and accelerate the aging of all tissues. And the prostate is an organ extremely sensitive to oxidative stress caused by these radicals. That's why blueberries are so strategically important. They contain type A proanthocyanidins, unique bioactive compounds that literally prevent bacteria like E. coli from sticking and fixing to the walls of the urinary tract. This drastically reduces the risk of urinary infection, bacterial prostatitis, constant burning, and irritating urgency to urinate. Studies published in the Journal of Urology clearly demonstrate that regular and consistent blueberry consumption reduces specific blood inflammatory markers in men diagnosed with benign prostatic hyperplasia. Plus, blueberries have an extremely low glycemic index. They don't spike blood sugar, don't cause peaks, don't create that metabolic roller coaster, and that's absolutely essential after 60. Eating blueberries 3 or 4 times a week, pure, fresh, or mixed with plain unsweetened yogurt, can greatly improve urinary function, overall prostate health, and even erection quality. It's not an instant miracle, it's biology working perfectly in your favor. The second powerful and extremely underrated fruit is papaya. And here's a crucial detail that almost no one knows or appreciates. Papaya contains papain, a natural digestive enzyme that deeply helps digest complex proteins, drastically reduces intestinal fermentation, and significantly decreases the inflammatory load coming straight from the large intestine. And why the hell does this matter so much for the prostate? Because anatomically, the intestine is absurdly close to the prostate. They're neighbors. When you have accumulated gas, constipation, constant fermentation, the intestine inflames. And this intestinal inflammation physically presses on the prostate due to proximity and also sends inflammatory mediators through the lymphatic system. There's even a specific medical concept called the gut-prostate axis, similar to the famous gut-brain axis. If the gut is chronically inflamed, the prostate inevitably suffers along with it. Papaya is also extremely rich in beta-carotene, lutein, and lycopene, 3 fundamental antioxidants that intensely protect delicate and sensitive tissues like the prostate, bladder, and urethra. And unlike many other popular fruits, it has a fairly moderate glycemic load. It releases energy slowly and steadily without abrupt peaks. For men over 60, half a fresh papaya per day, preferably consumed in the morning, can drastically improve intestinal transit, reduce systemic inflammation, and considerably relieve mechanical pressure on the prostate. Eating papaya regularly isn't just about better digestion, it's about deep and silent de-inflammation from within. The third incredibly powerful fruit is pomegranate. And here we enter one of the most scientifically studied fruits in recent years, specifically for men's health and longevity. Pomegranate is absurdly rich in concentrated polyphenols and potent antioxidants that significantly improve the endothelial function of blood vessels. And why does this matter so much? Because both erection and optimal prostate health depend directly and completely on good constant blood circulation. If blood flows well and abundantly, the prostate receives fresh oxygen and essential nutrients. If circulation is compromised, poor, slow, inflammation accumulates. Chronic pain, progressive sexual dysfunction, and accelerated prostate growth follow. Pomegranate naturally increases endogenous nitric oxide production, that crucial vasodilator molecule that relaxes blood vessels and dramatically improves blood flow to the entire pelvic region. Rigorous studies published in international journals of urological oncology have shown that regular consumption of concentrated pomegranate juice can effectively reduce the progression of specific prostate cancer markers in at-risk men. Other controlled clinical studies show measurable and significant improvement in erectile function in men diagnosed with mild to moderate dysfunction. It's not a Viagra-like instant effect, obviously, but it's a natural food that the male body deeply appreciates in the medium and long term. Consuming natural, unsweetened pomegranate juice or eating the whole fruit 3 to 4 times a week allows you to absorb rare and powerful antioxidants, like pentocollagens, that literally slow and reverse chronic cellular inflammation. Pomegranate is, without any exaggeration, an absolutely essential fruit for full men's health. And the fourth incredibly powerful fruit that most men completely underestimate is avocado. Avocado is incredibly rich in high-quality monounsaturated fats, which are essential, fundamental, irreplaceable for endogenous testosterone production. After 60, the testicles naturally produce less and less testosterone year after year. So you absolutely need to give your body the right biochemical raw material to produce as much as possible. Without good quality fat, there's simply no testosterone. It's basic biochemistry, simple as that. Avocado significantly improves cellular insulin sensitivity, reduces dangerous oxidized LDL cholesterol, actively protects coronary arteries, and considerably decreases chronic systemic inflammation. And all of that, absolutely everything, directly favors prostate health because benign hyperplasia is proven and directly linked to uncontrolled metabolic inflammation. Plus, avocado contains high concentrations of natural vitamin E, protective lutein, and beta-sitosterol, a specific plant compound that, in multiple well-designed clinical studies, has shown to objectively reduce moderate urinary symptoms in men diagnosed with enlarged prostate. Half a fresh avocado per day is completely sufficient to stabilize energy throughout the day, drastically improve intestinal absorption of fat-soluble vitamins, consistently support sexual function, and deeply protect delicate pelvic tissues. A man with better blood circulation, more stable testosterone, and reduced inflammation is inevitably a man with much better overall quality of life. Now tell me quickly in the comments where you're watching this video from right now. because I see men literally from all over Brazil, from north to south, going through these same frustrating symptoms and thinking it's completely normal, inevitable. And it's not. You can reverse a huge amount of what you're feeling now just by strategically adjusting your daily diet. Look, I know perfectly well that many men grew up for entire decades thinking that any fruit is always good, always healthy, no matter which fruit or how much you eat. But the male body changes radically over time. And true intelligence, real wisdom, is in consciously adapting. It's not about stopping eating fruits completely. It's about choosing much better. Consciously swapping what chronically and silently inflames for what protects and regenerates. Replacing what constantly irritates for what deeply heals. You now know with total clarity which 4 specific fruits might be severely sabotaging your prostate without you even realizing it. And you also know exactly which 4 powerful fruits can literally give you back lost energy, hormonal stability, better urinary function, and an infinitely fuller and more comfortable life after 60. Don't ignore in any way these clear signals your body is sending you daily, because silent and chronic inflammation doesn't hurt visibly at first, but it destroys healthy tissues little by little, progressively. And when you finally notice and feel it, it's often already an established chronic problem much harder to reverse. But if you consciously adjust now in just a few weeks, you can feel concrete and measurable differences. Fewer desperate trips to the bathroom at night. A visibly stronger and more consistent urine stream. Less constant abdominal bloating. More real energy during the day. Better deep sleep quality. And this definitely isn't an empty internet promise. It's exactly what I see happen repeatedly with my real patients when they finally deeply understand how daily diet directly and powerfully impacts the prostate. If this video genuinely made sense to you, if it opened your eyes to something important you simply didn't know before, then subscribe to the channel right now. Because here I speak openly about what almost no one else explains with clarity and honesty, without unnecessary detours, without empty filler, just scientific information that really works in practice. Share it urgently with a close friend, a brother, a father, an uncle, because absolutely every man over 60 needs to know this urgently. And always remember, what you consciously put on your plate every day for the next 30 days can completely and radically transform how you feel physically. I'm Dr. Natália Castro, and I'll be here every week bringing serious and in-depth content about prostate, testosterone, male vitality, and healthy longevity. Until the next video.